VRChat, the next frontier. These are the experiences from Gunter's universe. His continuing mission? To seek out and connect with VR devs and passionate enthusiasts. To discuss theories, beliefs, and rhetoric of all kinds. And to boldly go where no show has ever gone before.
All right. Welcome back to Doublegoose Universe, everyone. How y'all doing? And it is Tuesday. It's time for another show, and it is great to be here. I'm your host, Gunter S. Thompson. Across from me is Cause Effects, aka Bob. How's it going, Bob?
They could be going better. I'm homeless, so that means I have to wear pants.
That's a bummer. I'm not wearing. We're not wearing pants here. It sucks that you have to wear pants.
Nope. I know.
I'm not even wearing underwear, and that's how I roll. So Bob's my co-host. He's not doing as well as I am. Kenny's on the cameras, running around. How you doing, Kenny?
Pretty good, man. Can't complain. We had a heat wave here in San Francisco, 100 degrees for 2 days.
Yeah. I mean, it's hot here in South Florida, but I think you guys are certainly getting nailed. You know, I have a hurricane coming right for me, so
yeah, I was about to ask about that. You getting ready for that?
Oh, you guys are gonna ask about that? Ready. Well, who cares? It's just a hurricane. I've been through 7 of them. I have the boards I need. I've got the gas. I've got an RV and generator. I'm good to go. If I gotta run, I'll run. If I need to stay, I've been through them. I know what I'm doing. I'm a pro. All I'm worried about is, of course, power. We'll have a generator. I'll be all right. And I have a wireless LTE unlimited plan, so I'll be here at Gunter's Universe next Tuesday, and the one after that. Come hurricane, hell, high water, or any of those things that they say out there.
We were almost free of you. And it was the last show.
Oh my god.
And you were here for the last one, okay. So in this show, we do all kinds of cool stuff. We talk about VR, we have great guests on, and tonight is a special community spotlight show. This is where we bring on a couple of our VRChat regulars to talk about, life, the universe, and everything, sort of behind the avatars interview. And so with us, to my left, is Goblox. How's it going, Goblox? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, pretty good. I'm doing all right.
Goblox has been around for a while, been very active. One of the things that you do is Improv Night, which was 2 nights ago on Sunday. It's been a huge success. How you liking doing Improv Night?
It's been great. I mean, everything's been positive. We've been getting really great responses. It's just all around a good thing, and everybody's having fun, and that's the most important thing.
It is. Also, people are having fun with Doublegoose. I'm going to introduce him, Doublegoose. You do a thing called Squats with Doublegoose, and that's a cool thing that's been going on. A lot of people have fun there, and I think you wear people out. How's it going? Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's going really good there, Gunter.
And how is Squats with going? I know that sometimes Squats with was Squats with Darren, Squats with Doublegoose, Squats with Ghoster. Are you back in it? Is Squats with been happening with Doublegoose lately?
Yeah, the name on the events channel is Squats with Goose and Ghoster, and because Ghoster basically has been periodically there for me if I'm out or co-hosting with me and stuff like that. So it's been pretty great. Still wearing people out, but I'm feeling improvements in the leg area.
I bet, yeah. Right on. All right, well, let's get into some questions here. We're going to start with some real-life stuff. I want to learn all kinds of cool stuff about you guys, and then we'll kind of dive into VR and VRChat and all that kind of cool stuff. So I'll toss things around. We'll start over here with Goblox. I want to know about your family. What was life growing up like? Where are you from? Who was influences from your family? Cool family members, teachers. I don't know. Tell us about your family a little bit.
Yeah, so I grew up in California. That's where I live now, Bay Area, still here, native. Growing up here has been pretty great. Being near Silicon Valley has been awesome. Obviously, tech influenced my life growing up a lot. My dad was kind of an entrepreneur, and so he was always trying to figure out different ways to leverage technology to make a living on. And so one of the things he would do was he would buy and sell surplus computer parts a lot. And
nice.
It always ended up where as all my friends growing up had Transformers and all these toys and stuff growing up within GI Joes, my dad was always bringing home really random electronics and computers and stuff. So those were kind of my toys growing up. So I had a very like Silicon Valley kind of like, you know, upraising and stuff. And like, even like when I got to like around 15, like one of the things I do like with him was we would go to this electronic swap meet down at Foothill College by us. It's in Los Altos. And we'd be selling parts. And like, it was a great way to like connect. I got my first job through there. I met the owner of this company. And so it was like really interesting growing up in this area because everything was just really like, you know, as it is now, just sort of thriving and growing. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, my family, I have 2 older sisters. Does that answer? Do you want to know more?
Yeah, it does. It sounds like a great life. Silicon Valley, it kind of was sort of my dream would have been to grow up in that area. And, well, I enjoyed the Transformers and the G.I. Joe, so that I got to live that part of my dream. But random electronics sounds pretty amazing. Like, what random electronic did you get that was interesting or something that you did with one of those?
Jeez, I mean, there were so many different things. He'd bring home, like, so just to, like, give you an idea, like, my dad at one point, like, he would go to these auctions where they would sell off all these like random electronic stuff, and he at one point bought something like 4,000 like computers from this company that was like going out of business. And like he just and it was really crazy. Like I won't go into details, but he got this like amazing deal on it because basically everybody else that could bid wasn't allowed to bid because of like the circumstances what got them there. So he was like he was always like finding deals like that. And so I got some really like random computers. Like one was called like an Engine, and another one was like a Gavilon, and like just really random stuff. So sort of diving into these things, I got a sense of how computers worked in general. Like I could just sort of understand just by using these things, like when things didn't work and things did work, almost like it was like almost like learning a language growing up. So that really helped me out like later in life. So
do you still have some of those old machines? Do you collect that kind of stuff, or is that
occasionally? Yeah, I'll occasionally, like in our house, I'll stumble over something and go, oh yeah, I remember that thing, and like brings back all these memories.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. What about you, Doublegoose? What was life growing up like? Where are you from?
Growing up, I grew up in 2 different states, basically. I started, first 7 years of my life was in Kansas City, Missouri, and then we moved over to Houston, Texas, and then eventually just moved right back to Kansas City, Missouri. Growing up, basically, living in Texas, for me personally, and there wasn't a lot of tech stuff going on there, so I couldn't really. I always felt like the odd man out because I was always the nerd or whatever, hanging out with the group of jocks. Because like I've talked to a couple of people there who've experienced their life, living in Houston, stuff like that. There just doesn't seem to be as much, at least in my opinion. I don't know if you guys are from Houston or been there at all or whatever. But it just seems like the nerd community is just like you gotta find them in these little bins or like in corners or whatever. So whenever we met,
I know what you mean.
And the nice thing about when we moved back to Kansas City is like Kansas is really it is like literally maybe like a 30-40 minute drive from where I live. I'm Missouri side, but and there's all kinds of like tech experience jobs and stuff like that. And I actually drive, from Missouri to Kansas every day, going to work and back, working in a call center and their stuff.
I bet you're glad that you moved out of Houston, especially like the last few weeks.
Yeah. Do you have family and friends from there, or did you ever have to deal with a hurricane or anything like that?
We did have to deal with Katrina, but we were far enough that we didn't have to worry about like damage to the house or anything like that. But there was some power loss and some shingles were blown off the roof. Right now, I have a brother living in Frisco, Texas, which I messaged him a couple of times, and apparently he's far enough away that no worries there. So he's doing all right.
That's good to hear. So, your job. So you say you commute, go to the job, you work at a call center. What kind of stuff were you taking calls about?
I work in a company that does support tech, various different like financial support and stuff like that. I specifically work in the customer service field, doing support for a program that basically helps realtors do their job. So, for example, if a realtor wants to run a search for like a house with like maybe a 2-bedroom, 2-story, something like that, with specific criteria like how many bathrooms, whatever, they use our software.
Cool. I used to work in a call center, I don't know, back in 2000 for a good number of years. Those were interesting times. I got to do troubleshooting software and computers and stuff like that. It was really cool. What about you, Goblox? Oh, please.
No, go on.
Tell us more about call center. Come on.
Oh, I was just gonna say it can be pretty stressful at times, but the current job I work at, I have just some of the best managers ever, so that's pretty much why I stay.
Yeah. That's good. So you don't have to like, when I did call center, I had to be like in certain codes when I went to take a shit, or I had to be in this kind of mode, or too much talk time was happening, I get yelled at, or I had to get the customer off the call or something. Do you have to deal with any of that, or no, you're actually there to provide quality help?
We do have specific statuses we have to go into, like whenever, like you said, going to take a shit. But they're really lenient whenever it comes to that sort of thing. So I'm not really too worried about it too much.
That's good. That's good. I liked what I did, but that was the part that was very difficult.
Yeah.
Managing seconds, I think, I don't know, is crazy. What do you do, Goblox? Where are you working?
Well, actually, so I used to work in doing like tech support, like as well, at a financial institution, so I can relate a lot with that. And financial institutions are just crazy to do tech support for, because everything is literally time is money there, so they just want everything fixed like now. Now I'm doing computer engineering. I work for a company down in San Diego, and that's going really well. That was what I went to school for, and I telecommute. So yeah, it's a company that specializes in satellite communications. And so we sort of build equipment that handles taking satellite signals and then converting them into like other formats. And so like one of our clients was like Dish Networks. Like recently we built a box for them that was like totally groundbreaking box, and it was really an honor to do that for them because they don't like hire anyone else. But we're sort of like a ragtag group of engineers that are just like some of the brightest people around and just awesome to work with. So it's inspirational in that sense.
That's awesome. Yeah, I get to work around some pretty awesome, exceptional people that I don't know why I get to be around, but they are amazing, and it's awesome. Do you know stuff about like ham radios? Another like, God, I just remember old satellite dishes and ham radios coming to mind.
So this is more. So ham radio would be more. Well, I guess it can be on the digital end, but at the core of it, it's pretty analog. This is this is all pretty digital kind of stuff. Like one example would be like if we're converting a satellite signal down to like, they call it QAM, which is what's used for like cable distribution and stuff, and that's all done digitally with like changing the phase angles of like whatever channels you want to put in. So it's really interesting. I mean, it's all done in software now. It's amazing. You can basically say, okay, we're just going to have one FPGA that does all this stuff, and just program it and get this chip from this guy and have it interface here and put these things together. And like it's just so flexible now, the things that you can do with such processing power with like such little resources. It's just amazing.
So you've seen things change pretty rapidly. Have you been doing that for a little while?
Oh yeah. Well, when I was a kid and I was going to like the electronic swap meets, the ham radio swap meets, it was all about everything was like linear power supplies. It was everything was very analog, and it was much different. Like high frequency, like switching supplies was something that was like very new. I'm getting like very like into like technical lingo here. Sorry about that, guys, but that was the kind of stuff that was like that was very cutting edge back then. And I mean, back then, you know, we had Apple IIs, we had the Macintosh had just like come out. So I mean, to go from that to where we are now is just like, it's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Know?
So do you currently have a ham radio license?
I don't know. I might have expired. I don't know. I think I got it like 10 years ago or something like that. But
okay.
I might have it. I don't know.
Did you ever like communicate with people across the world long time ago before there was like internet or barely internet via ham radio? Because you could do that with shortwave, right?
you could do that. You can bounce signals like off the ionosphere and stuff like that. I never really was in it to do that stuff. It was more there was actually back in the day they were trying to do this thing where and they did do it where you could send video over ham radio. And so there was a way you could like encode that, I think digitally. I don't know. I was young at the time when it was happening, so I don't remember the exact details. But there was a way to do it, and so that was sort of the reason why I got my like ham radio license, because I was fascinated by that, and so I wanted to get into doing that. So yeah.
I heard the licenses are a little easier to get now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a technician's class license is pretty easy. You go in on a Sunday, do like a crash course, and you can get it like no problem. You don't have to know Morse code anymore for that class license, so makes it a lot easier.
Let's dive into fun stuff like movies, games, music, hobbies. What's one of your favorite hobbies or things that you find yourself doing besides VRChat and squatting all the time? I know you like to squat. What else do you like to do?
I got a friend of mine who we share pretty equal hobbies, and when we talk about it, we say it's just this big old spider web that kind of goes everywhere. But a couple of the big things that I'm really into is like classic gaming. I got into that when I was about 15, because like growing up, like grew up in a very strict family, and gaming consoles like weren't really a huge like thing that we were open or allowed to. So eventually, you know, whenever you know, things became more lenient, stuff like that. Eventually, I was allowed to start, you know, grabbing game consoles, stuff like that. So, you know, I went a little crazy and ended up grabbing like the Sega Genesis, and then like a couple of weeks after that, got a Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, original Nintendo, and stuff like that. And like my mom would be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm trying to catch up on the childhood I missed."
That's amazing.
But like, yeah, I got all kinds of. What's that?
So what did she think about that, or what did your parents think about gaming when it was allowed? Did they think like, oh, this is good, we get gaming now, or is it still like you're wasting your time, your life? Like
so is this like when you were like 18 and had a job and stuff, or when did that happen?
This was like 16, 17, around there. But yeah, this was and the way I'm pretty sure they thought they made a mistake, basically, he's opening up those doors. But I got my parents had me when they were a bit older. I'm a child of about 4 different other siblings, and 2 of my older brothers. We have a very large age gap between us. So by the time I finally, you know, was born, it was kind of it eventually got to the point to where they were kind of like, do whatever you want. But aside from that, you know, I make model kits, the Gundam model kits.
Cool.
Make a lot of those.
Oh, cool.
Those are a lot of fun.
Nice.
It can be a pretty expensive hobby, though.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, those can get expensive.
Models and Legos. That shit is so expensive. When I was a kid, that was too rich for me. I couldn't. And I didn't have any patience for modeling. So you don't just you do play with some 3D modeling, but you're talking about physical, put pieces together, Gundams, build them. How long you been doing stuff like that for? Was that from childhood, or is that more recent that you've been?
I started that about I started doing that about 2 years ago, so that's relatively recent. But I went, you know, I went all in. I got a pretty I don't know if this is still a term that's used, a wild hair. I ended up buying like the minute I got into it, like a couple of weeks later, I bought like one of the air compressor, a little micro air compressor with a airbrush on it and everything, and got all the parts and stuff like that. I went all in. Go big or go home.
Right on. What other name off some of these other like hobbies that you and your friends share? Just rattle some of them off. Board gaming, RPG stuff, anything?
Yeah, well, I mean, I did a little bit of D&D here and there. I got a brother, him and he'll come over and bring a couple of board games on over every once in a while. He goes and finds like these crazy board games nobody's ever heard of, and then he'll bring it on over, and he'll like, let's play this, and it'll be like the coolest thing ever. So I play that a little bit here and there.
Have you played Arkham Horror yet?
Arkham Horror? No, not yet.
That one's hardcore.
So what are some of these other hobbies? You got my mind peaked. You have this friend, which is so awesome that you both share tons of hobbies with. So what are some of the other things you guys have been
We don't hang out as much as we used to, but like I'm really into like anime stuff like that, and I still watch cartoons. Growing up, even though like
there's not a person here that doesn't watch cartoons still. That's impossible. You can't be in VR and like these stupid tunes that we're wearing and not like cartoons in real life. I mean, come on. This is animations are thing. So yeah, what are your favorite cartoons, man? Cartoons to me are more important than movies. Like I don't know if there's many people that would go that far, but that's how far I go with it. Tunes are important.
Well, I've recently been watching, I need to keep watching. I still haven't caught up to season 2, the new Voltron series, and
I really a bunch of that. It's good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And one I finished relatively recent. Name escapes me, so I'm gonna skip over that. Go to something else. I've been watching somebody in the VRChat community just suggested me called Camp. I guess it's a Rooster Teeth series. It's more like adult oriented, but it still has that like childish, cartoony feel to it. It's pretty funny.
Cool. I keep forgetting something you hit on just a moment ago, and then I lost what you had, and I had something good to say about it, but that's how these things go. So let's pop over to Goblox. We'll pivot and talk about your hobbies, some things that you occupy yourself with besides being funny and improv stuff and hanging out in VRChat. What's some stuff we wouldn't know that you do?
Jeez, there's a lot of things that I'm into. It's almost like a problem. So I'm like really into like almost anything. That guy gets it. It's almost like anything that has to do with like music. I'm kind of obsessed with, whether it be playing music. I play the drums. Whether it be like producing music or what have you. Even yeah. So like that's one thing, and then I'm also very much into cars. That was something I got into very early in life because my dad was very much into cars, and so that's something I do is I like restore like vintage automobiles and stuff. I find a lot of joy in doing that and fixing up cars, and now I'm like that sort of has also like the connections I've made like doing that and like finding other enthusiasts. Now we're like starting to make like videos. Like I don't know if anyone here is like into cars or anything like that, but there's this really famous
whose head's down, not paying attention. He's somewhere else. So let's pick on him, not paying attention guy. Oh, go ahead.
There's this like there's this one guy or this one channel called Petrolicious who makes like these amazing car videos that are just like super high quality and like just like you can tell it's like the best equipment, and you almost feel like you're there, and that's sort of like my inspiration. I want to like make videos like that, so we're starting to like film videos strapping like GoPros to the car, and like I just got a drone recently, so I want to do like drone shots and stuff, so that's like something I'm into.
Too cool.
Yeah, almost like too much stuff, honestly. And then like all the electronics and like mechanical stuff I love, like with cars also, I end up like I have like a full shop, so I like end up like making like parts and stuff that you can't get for cars, and that will like consume
so you do your
my
own
time
fabrication
and tools and stuff. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Wow. I'm mind blown.
So do you have like a current car project that you're working on?
Yeah, a couple right now. Yeah. So it's I'm restoring it's a 1988 BMW M3. It used to be like a track car raced by a guy up in the North Bay in Santa Rosa, and I got it and I went through it and just like replaced like all the mechanical stuff, and now like it's getting like body work done to it, and then I'm going to do interior on it. And there's like in the past, like I had like a DeLorean that I restored. I had like old Jags and stuff. So it's like a really big like passion of mine. I'm just like obsessed with cars. So
I'm terrible with cars. I think I'm just terrible at life, actually. I'm gonna admit. Here's my answer. I blew up like one of my cars when I was young. I'm not even gonna go. I'll go into that story later. You're just making me feel like, oh my god, it does happen, right? Plus, I was young and dumb and chasing girls and things like that.
Different priorities.
Different priorities, exactly. Voltron, that's what it was. Did you know there's the VR Voltron movie coming out? Or
I had no idea.
It's based on the series, Netflix and the series, and I don't know if it's a movie. I wouldn't say movie because you think like a long 2-hour thing, but it's a sort of cinematic movie-ish experience from VR. Yep. So that's
I have no idea. I'm gonna have to look into
VR.
That sounds
coming. and it's animation, so this shit makes sense. It's not like I don't think the filming real life and trying to make VR movies is quite there yet. But this is exactly what I've been looking for. So, anyways, that was what I was trying to think of.
Totally, it's awesome.
So music, then, what would you, if you were gonna go drum tonight? What would you go drum?
Oh, that's a good question. So like in my younger years, I did a lot of like playing out and playing in like bands and stuff. Now it's more like just jamming with friends and stuff. Every now and again, like now and then we get together. But I still got that sort of performance bug. I would like to do something, but it all comes down to time, and time is just so hard to get now to do that kind of stuff. So, yeah,
probably restoring cars, building improv events every week, and everything else,
and working and everything else. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff to do, but I don't know. I have this philosophy that you have to like all these things that you like to do. You have to like sort of feed them because they're all sort of part of you, and they keep you alive. And so you can't like let any of them starve. So you got to do some feeding of it. Even if I can't get out to like play a show or get together with friends, I can still hop on my drum set and still jam out for like half an hour, and sort of feed that part. So it's all about balance.
Nice.
So do you have like a home recording studio set up for your drums, or you just kind of play around?
I have like an electronic drum set, and so that's fucking awesome for just jamming, putting on tunes and doing that. And then I've got an acoustic set for if I want to go out and play. For a while I was getting into doing recording and stuff, but I never like had my own studio per se. I've been like a huge gearhead, and I bought like a lot of like recording gear and all different kinds of mixers and multi-track recorders and stuff, and became proficient in that. And so I've had like the equipment, and like we've rented studios up in the city where we can go up there and like record bands, but I don't really have my own. That's my dream, is like to have like a house that has like a studio like underground in the basement, so you can play anytime you want and not have to like worry about bugging neighbors and stuff. Like that would be awesome.
Soundproofed, yep.
Yeah.
It's rad. I grew up playing music with friends, but not performing it out, but having a lot of fun playing metal. Did you play any metal on your drums? I mean, just yeah. Like what?
I played like metal, punk, funk, rock, all kinds of. And then like even at some points, like when I was like into like doing like DJing and like doing electronic music and stuff, I would like we'd go to like house or like warehouse parties over in like Oakland, and I'd bring my kit, and like just along with the DJ we'd set up like our instruments and be playing, and it was so awesome mixing sort of like funk in with like we had this really cool DJ at the time that was just so dialed into the same like style music that we played like on our instruments, and he was like playing the turntables like it was like an instrument. It was just the coolest thing.
We need to get a couple GoPros on you at all times, because I just want to watch your life a bunch. I want to watch you go from this hour of drums to 5 hours of fixing a Lamborghini DeLorean mixture thing, the hybrid that I imagine that you're creating that can fly. I don't know. That sounds really cool, dude. What about you, Doublegoose? You into music, playing music, to go to concerts?
Oh, something I forgot to mention? I cosplay. I also go to a lot of. I don't go to as much to concerts and stuff like that, but conventions. I happily go to a couple of conventions once per year and stuff like that. It's a ton of fun.
Like what? What kind of convention?
There's two conventions. One locally here that's pretty big, and we get about it's big for a local convention. I think we get about 10K people every year, something like that, which is
that's pretty good.
Pretty nice.
Yeah,
pretty nice.
Pretty good.
It's anime related, all anime stuff. I actually cosplayed Shiro a couple of times. We had a Voltron group that me and my sister set up, and we had we had Pidge and everybody from the new Voltron series based off of that. And I'm going to be going over to one in Nebraska in November, so that's going to be a ton of fun. Going as Danny.
Would you mind sharing some pictures of that on the Discord?
Yeah, sure. I have an Instagram. I have an Instagram with a couple of my stuff there. I can probably just send the link.
Yeah, we want to see it. I want to see it. Definitely, it'd be cool.
I want to see it.
There was a Dragon Con in Atlanta. It's a big convention, and it's been going since the 80s, and it's all kinds of mixture from comics to anime to gaming and podcasting and skeptics and all this stuff. And it's really cool because it's just like very community driven. There's not really industry there. Like San Diego Comic-Con is really about the industry of comics, but it was really cool. I've done some cosplaying there and running around. They shut down all downtown Atlanta, and I was basically Captain America running around the streets, helping little kids cross the road, and them coming up to me and saluting me and all this crap. That was so much fun. Like that's normal around there during that week. This last week ends on Labor Day, and it's just weird to be able to go into any place in downtown Atlanta and run anywhere around there, and just see all these people with crazy stuff, full on GI Joe, automobiles that are real life with like the missiles and the Black Cobra Jeeps with the missiles and all this. It's just like, how is this possible? Because of people like you. It's people like you that can make this shit. It's really awesome. Okay, 2 of your favorite movies.
2 favorite movies? And then I can't really give okay. So for one,
I know it's too hard.
One of my all-time favorite movies, and I think this is partially influenced by me just getting into VR and stuff like that, is Tron.
Yeah.
I've really big been in it. I've watched the movie, the Tron Legacy. I've watched it at least like 10 or 20 times. I've really been really big into Daft Punk growing up. I love that genre of music that they produce. And whenever I found out that they did the soundtrack for Tron when the movie was getting ready to be released, Tron Legacy, I was totally excited for that. Went to see that, had a lot of fun. Special effects are still pretty decent today. When was that movie released? Was that like 08, 09?
I'd say like 10 years ago.
Wow,
it's
I can't
been
believe
like
it's been 10 years.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, the special effects still hold up pretty well. I'd love to cosplay Tron.
Jeff Bridges. So good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I used to watch the older one all the time.
I had that on repeat a whole bunch. I don't even know how many times. Yeah, me too. What about you? You like movies?
Oh geez. Yeah, I love movies. I'm really that's like kind of, I don't know why. I love like sci-fi dystopian kind of movies. So like for me, like I know a lot of people didn't like it. There's been a lot of hate for this movie, saying it's too long, all this stuff. But I really love Interstellar. Like that was like one of my favorite movies that came out recently. And before that, both of the films are Christopher Nolan films. Inception. Those 2 movies are like just so awesome to me. I freaking love that stuff.
Still need to see Interstellar, and I don't like Inception, so we don't agree
What?
there. So. I did not like it.
You want to hear something crazy?
It's like a perfect VR thing, right? But I don't like it.
At the end of Inception, you know the top that's constantly spinning. So I remember whenever I first watched that movie, the top fell over for me.
What?
And then I was watching it with my girlfriend at the time, and she told me, she says, no, it kept spinning. I'm like, what? I'm like, no, it fell over. She's like, no, it was still spinning. I'm like, so I had to rewatch it, and sure enough, it wasn't spinning the second time. But yeah, that was pretty funny.
Is there something I'm missing? Is there something like amazingly, obviously, that that eluded me when I was watching that movie? I mean, I do. Why wouldn't it be obvious? Is there some?
So at the end of I don't want to spoil anything
I don't
too
remember.
crazy.
It's been a long time.
But, at the end of the movie, basically. Okay, all right, everybody. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Stick your fingers in your ears.
Everybody mute
Okay.
Doublegoose.
So
I'll put when we're done talking about it, I'll put my arm down so you can.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. So basically, at the end of
so he has to hold it. Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
At the end of the movie, like he meets up with his kids or whatever. Who I don't remember the whole plot, but through something like he wasn't. There was some kind of dream where he couldn't like look at them or they wouldn't look at him. And so at the end of the movie, basically he meets up with his kids. They turn around and look at him. He goes over to hug them. And basically in the movie, basically if there's a top spinning or something, whenever they're in a dream, they basically run a test to make sure, whether it's reality or not by spinning a top. And if the top continues to spin, if it doesn't fall over, they're in a dream.
Yeah.
Well, the camera basically pans down towards this top spinning around, and it just continues to spin. But whenever I watched the movie, I saw it fall over. Like, I thought it wasn't in the dream. It's weird. Oh, you can put your hand down.
It looks like it's about to fall over. I always assumed that it did. But yeah,
I see.
So maybe
it cuts to black, so you don't know.
It's sort
you
of
have to make.
Yeah, you don't know.
Judge.
Yeah.
It cuts to black.
Those things kind of piss me off.
Such a good
Yeah, those
movie.
kind of things piss me off. Sorry, that's kind of like part of that, and too
What do
many
you think
layers of. I wanted to love it. Anyways, we'll talk about. You can yell at me later about how I don't know what I'm talking about. I assume most of the time I don't know what I'm talking about. I do always err on that side of things. Okay. So many cool things to ask.
How about
There's not gonna be
travel?
enough time.
Have you guys been any cool places?
Have you gone like Ecuador?
That's
Yeah,
pretty
I was
cool.
in,
That's
I
pretty
was
cool.
in Ecuador once on a mission trip a while back. It was pretty cool. There really different world, lots of mountains and stuff like that. It's really pretty. I thought it was going to be, I remember before we were going, I was prepping it for it to be hot as hell because Ecuador, Spanish for equator. But no, I guess I didn't do my research because it's way up there in the mountains. So like I came in tank tops, short sleeves, flip flops. It was winter. It was their winter there, so it was freezing. I remember we woke up. We woke up one morning super early to go to a we were basically prepping to go back to the airport or whatever, and our bus is running late. So we're sitting there for like 2 hours out on the campground, just freezing our butts off. Everybody wasn't prepared for this. Everybody's like light jackets at best, and it was ridiculous.
You had to keep each other warm.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not gonna phone each other.
What kind of cool place you been?
Probably like most like different place I went to on a trip to Amsterdam, like for like 10 days or something like that, and that was really cool.
Did you open your
for
third
various
eye?
reasons? Yes,
How many of
I
those
did.
days do you remember?
Not,
Did you walk
not
by
many.
the red light district?
Well, so I walked by that. We actually ran into a friend when I was there that like nobody had seen in years. It was the most random thing, just randomly.
Oh, isn't that
it was
the
like
best?
this looks like my friend. It's
cool.
just bizarre. So I saw this girl at the train station. I was like, that looks like my friend. And then I yelled out her name, and she freaking turned around, and like it was just crazy. Like, how does that happen? This girl disappears. And
I got one of those stories, but man, that's fucking crazy. How is that possible?
I don't know, but I got to tell you, she had been living there for a couple of years. So after that point, the trip just took off to like a whole new level because now we had a local that knew like everything to do, and it was just super awesome.
Oh, that's the best,
man. Yeah.
Well, we probably can't get into all that. I'm going to talk to you about that.
Nah. Yeah, we can talk
that off camera. Yeah, off camera.
Yeah.
It's so cool. That's where I want to go. I'm married, but I don't know that red light district, right? You gotta. I don't know. How did you? If you didn't, I don't even know.
It's just I just walked by. I didn't go through, but it's cool just to see.
Are you a man?
Not that.
Oh.
It's not all that.
It's not all that. I don't know.
No, it isn't. Well, I went walk through in the morning, so it probably wasn't as cool.
No, I don't think it's cool in the morning.
It's like window shopping for a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the most bizarre thing,
And they're like banging on the windows and shit. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Go ahead quickly.
Women.
So, I was much younger, and my brother was really young, and we took a tour through Amsterdam from the military base we were living at. And the tour guide took us through the red light district. So my brother's got a sweatshirt pulled up on either side of his head because, boobies in the windows. And there's this barker outside of a theater, and he's going, "Hey, we've got family shows. You Americans come from a deprived nation." It was pretty funny.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, it's true.
It's not like you can see a boob on TV.
I know. I've seen a bunch of them. It's ridiculous. All right, what else we got here? Oh, there's so much stuff. I want to move down. There's too many on the list. So, like, tell us something shocking, something weird, maybe something stupid or embarrassing that you've done, Doublegoose.
Well, actually, just recently I had my first major Gorn accident from the Gorn VR Gladiator combat game.
Gorn? Oh,
Gorn with
Gladiator.
a G, with a G, with a G like golf.
What kind of accent?
For those of you who don't know, it's a game that's very commonly known for, having people accidentally smash their controller in a wall or something like that because they're flinging their hands around, swinging a sword in virtual reality. And yeah. I had I basically, there was a desk in front of me and I wasn't paying attention. I was bashing a guy's head with a rock, and all my my Gundam model kit stuff, is all over there. And so like all my equipment, like knives, things like that. And there was thankfully none of that. But there was a jar of toothpicks, with everything pointed up, and I was I just smashed my finger right on top of the jar of toothpicks. And thankfully, it wasn't as bad as you'd think. I didn't like get any major stabs or splinters or something like that. But it was my trigger finger is not feeling too good right now.
We have a couple sad faces emojis coming at you, so people are feeling your pain.
Jeez.
Goblox.
So, have you ever heard of the game Amnesia: Dark Descent?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. No. Okay, so it's this like horror game. I guess it's more like a spooky like game where you're basically like, it was a while ago, but you're like wandering around in this castle and there's like all these like mutants like walking around and stuff, and you have no weapons whatsoever. The only thing you can do is run and hide. You can like go run into a room, shut the door behind you, go run and climb into like a bookcase and like close the door, and then the thing will come running in. You have to like open the door and like peek and see if he's still there and all this stuff, and like it's super like freaky. And so like this one, and like there's another thing in the game where if you start like freaking out like in the game, like it will start to simulate like hallucinating. Like things will start coming out from the walls, like you'll get like all these weird like webbings of like blood and all this like super trippy stuff, like you're like on a bad trip or something like that. And so me and my friend were playing this game this one night. We just like started playing it, and we're like on this big screen TV, totally in like pitch dark, and we're playing this, and like we walk down this one hallway, and this like monster starts like chasing us, and we're like, oh shit, and we like turn around and we start booking it. We're booking it, and he's like is it still behind us? I'm like, I don't know, and he's like running. I'm like, go down the stairs. So he like goes down the stairs, and he like goes in this other room and like closes the door behind him, and we're like, is he still behind us? I don't know. He turns around, and the thing was like right there, and like it was just like the perfect view, and we both like just were like, ah! Like screamed so loud and like woke up all of our neighbors and shit, and like all came over like, what is going on? It was like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m, and all of them came over like, what is going on with you? Just playing this game. We got scared. That's all.
Did you say this was last weekend? Is that what happened this last weekend?
Yeah, totally.
That's an older game, bro. That's like at least 10 years old, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It was like
10 or 15
5 years ago or something.
No, not 10, but yeah.
I think
it was like 5 years ago.
Amnesia game that came out a long time ago.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that might have been
Devious like Rex, welcome to Gunter's Universe.
About 5-6 years ago.
Please have a seat in the second or fourth row.
Go ahead and have a seat in the seating there, and hope you enjoy the show. Speaking of horror stuff, let's talk about Halloween. Halloween's coming up. I don't know, almost 2 months, less than 2 months from now. Halloween's my that'll be my
I know.
Your anniversary.
9th anniversary, yeah.
Wow.
With my wife. So it's been a long time, and we got married on Halloween, so it's fun. And so we're gonna do a lot of cool stuff in VRChat. There's gonna be a big contest for people to create the scariest rooms, scariest avatar, and all that kind of jazz. Is there any cool Halloween costumes that you may have dressed up as in the past? I mean, you cosplay, so there's definitely going to be something for sure. Maybe you could share something from a previous Halloween that was cool, fun, scary.
Yeah. One Halloween, actually, me and a friend of mine, he has a neighbor, and they go over to dress up his garage, basically be like a haunted house or whatever. And not really a special costume. I just found like a Grim Reaper outfit off the shelf. But like since I'm really tall, it kind of fit. I kind of fit the outfit or whatever.
How tall are you?
6'5".
That's pretty damn tall.
And so basically, what everybody else they'd interact with the people and be like, oh, walk around them, and I just stood there in a corner with the scythe out and just kind of not moving at all. And there were various times where people would come up to me and they'd like look up and they'd be like, "Wow, man, he's so freaking lifelike," or whatever, and they'd poke me or whatever and stuff like that. And then eventually, I'd move my head down and they'd be like, "Oh fuck, it's a person." I had this one person. It was like I think it was like a grandma or something like that. She came up to me and like her husband is like, it's like, "Oh, go ahead and touch it," and she's like, "Oh, I don't know, it looks so real." And I just, the minute she gets in close, I'm like, "Boo," and then she just
That's the best. I've loved being in some Halloween haunted houses and playing the psychopath or the guy in the what's the jacket?
Straight jacket.
Straight jacket. My wife wants to put me in one of those all the time, but yes, those are always fun. I love scaring the shit out of people.
God, not really like any like crazy costumes or anything like that. But let's see, I think like one time, like a gorilla suit I had at one time. One time I like dressed up as like Ignignot from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I had these big 2 pieces of foam like in front of me, for anyone that might know Aqua Teen Hunger Force. And that was it was awesome. It ended up looking awesome, but it was so freaking big I couldn't fit through like any doorways. So I had to like always go sideways through doorways and stuff. But I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in here because like everybody's starting to get started to create this stuff like right now. It's like still 2 months away. I have a feeling it's gonna be pretty impressive.
If there's one holiday that VRChat can shine during, it's Halloween. It's just Halloween around here all the damn time, every day. So this is going to be epic. Been waiting very many years to see this sort of Halloween that's about to happen. We've had some really good ones last 2 years, but things have launched. The community is here. I'm very much looking forward to this as well. Yeah. Let's see. What is one of the things? Yeah, I jump around, Bob. I must drive Bob nuts because I don't even go the order that I never do. It's always like, I'd rather do this question now. Bob, what do you got?
Jump around. I was going to ask, how did you guys come up with your nicknames?
Yeah.
My name has a pretty I wouldn't say it's a crazy story. Basically, there was this chat site I used to go to for a book that I had read, part of this like book called the Dragon Keeper series. It's not really all that well known. But there, at the end of every book, there was this little, "Hey, you like the book? You want to chat with other people who read it? Go to this site." And so eventually, like after reading the 3rd book in the series, I was like, "Yeah, I'll go to the site." So I went to the site. They're like, "Well, what's your username?" I'm like, I like geese for some reason because they're weird. Goose." And then I was like, "Oh, no, well, no. My 14-year-old brain said he can't just be any goose. He has to be a secret agent. So Secret Agent Doublegoose." And I've been that since.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Secret agent, nice. It's not Goblox. It's actually Goblox, right? We say that all the time.
I think so. I think it's Goblox. So this is just from Goblox.
Is it? I thought GoBots, but then have you changed because you don't? You just go with it, or where does it come from? Tell us about it.
It's not from that. It's from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. There's this like really like. There's a character in it, Goblox, that's like masters of like all the turkeys or something like that, and like I don't know, that was just one episode I thought was really funny. So, and I needed a name, and I just do Goblox, and so I picked that.
Goblox.
That is like the best episode of Aqua Teen.
Yes.
Anti-taco legislation, and I think we all know why.
We know why.
Awesome. What's one of the things you're most proud of, Doublegoose?
Things I'm most proud of.
Tell us about it. I want to. Yeah. You gotta be proud of something. Besides naming the awesome name of Secret Agent Doublegoose, I mean, I'd be super proud of that too.
Well, one thing that's pretty neat that I need to rehook it up, but a couple years back, me and my dad built a MAME arcade cabinet, and
Fuck yes.
Yeah. And
the thing I've always wanted to do that I never ended up doing. So yes, how'd that go?
Well, originally I was like, hey, Dad, I can do the software stuff, but the hardware part, I don't know anything about, but I know you got some knowledge in it. You think you can? I was thinking about making something like this, and he was like, you know what, we can do better than that, and we got it together. I took care of all the payments, wood, everything. I bought all that, but he helped me put it together, and it turned out really good. I was super impressed with how it ended up, and after we finished it, he said, son, this is probably one of the coolest things I think I've ever helped make or made with you and stuff like that. Compared to all these other woodworking projects, it's really nice, really cool. Used an old CRT TV for the monitor, had to go old school for it. Really nice.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I ended up settling to buy one of these X Arcade double joystick board, tanks they're called, and they're really substantial. Yeah, tank sticks, 2 of them, really good stuff. I never got around to building the machine. I always got enough out of it without the machine. I always wanted the machine so bad, though. That's great. That's great. What was some of the games you could play with him? Like, there's got to be something that he dug, right?
Yeah,
some
well,
old...
I actually took an old Xbox original, and it was modded, and there was a MAME arcade mod for it, and I basically got the controller to work on the Xbox. The Xbox inputs are basically just modified USB 2.0 ports, so you just do a little bit of wiring or whatever, and everything works just fine there. And I got I pretty much got like over like 3,000 or whatever crazy games on it. Pretty much, if you can think about it, it's probably on there. One fun thing to play on it though is Doom. I got the original Doom to run on it, and playing Doom with 2 joystick controllers, one controlling the strafe and one controlling, the side to side, whatever. It's awesome. I've never had more fun playing Doom than with 2 controllers or 2 joysticks.
It's pretty awesome. MAME, I love it. What about you, Goblox?
What are you proud of? Remember there's
I'm already proud of you for a lot of reasons.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, man.
Or is there any like car project that you're most proud of?
There's thanks, guys. Yeah, there's some car projects. There's this one thing though that I did this one time that I'm pretty proud of. So like when I was in school in college, I got an internship at Apple at the time over the summer, and that was like pretty cool. Like the job itself was pretty cool, but the people that I met there was really like the cool thing. Like I sort of made this group of friends there that we were all sort of into the same, like obviously like techie stuff because it's Apple. And all of us are in engineering. We're all there for engineering internships, and we're like, okay, while we're here, I don't know if you guys know this, but like at Apple, they have like all these competitions constantly going on for like different departments. They have one for like wireless. They have one for like the marketing department. They have one for I don't know, for all these different ones, hardware, all this stuff. And so we tried to get into this one for like the software engineering one. We couldn't get into that one. So we're like, okay, fuck it. Let's go try to get into the one for the marketing competition, right? So we're like this group of engineers that are just totally like geeky, like not knowing anything really about marketing. And we enter this marketing competition and we get into it. And I guess I can talk about it now because it's like it's all out and stuff. But like basically the challenge was we were supposed to figure out like how to drive more people to iTunes at the time. And so we came up with this like plan for how we were going to do it and all this stuff. And like we at the time we had this like one guy leading the group, and the guy was like we were having like a lot of strife with him. And so like eventually like he sort of got kicked out of leading the group, and the other people in the group were like, Goblox, we want you to lead it. We want you to do it and take over this guy. So we had to literally like take this guy and like lock him out of the room, like while he was like banging on the windows, like trying to come in to like work on this project. And anyway, so we had to like almost do like a hostile takeover, but we took over this project, and then we went on. We did like this all-nighter before it was due because we were like severely behind because of this guy. We got this idea together how we were going to present it. We went over to the competition, this marketing competition, with all these people that all they know is like marketing, none of like the really like technical. Well, a lot of them know some technical stuff, but so I go upstage and I do the presentation of like how our system works and all this stuff, and we present it. And at the end, they do all this voting, and we ended up like sweeping, like just killing all the other like marketing people. This group of engineers come in and they just like kick the asses of like all these marketing people, and it was just like it was so cool because like we're standing up on stage and you can just tell all these other like teams are like fuming at us, and in the front is like all these like bigwigs at Apple, and they're just talking to us. They're like, don't worry, we were all engineers too, like blah blah, like this, we totally get it, we love the idea, we love all this stuff. So that was like a moment I was pretty proud of, just going in, kicking asses, and we all got like iPads for it and stuff too. It's cool.
Rock on, that's fucking awesome.
Right on.
I want to welcome all the people joining Gunters Universe. Some of you are strolling in after it starts. It's still going. Please have a seat and enjoy yourselves. Please be respectful and stay quiet and try to stay seated and give all of our attention to these guys around the table here. We're talking with Doublegoose and Goblox about their lives and the life and meaning of the universe and anything that comes up between me and my co-host Bob here's head. So let's get more
seats are in the
VR,
second and fourth rows.
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Let's have a seat, please. And let's dive into VR. We need to get into that. How did you get into VR? What was the thing that's like, oh, VR is a thing? I've got to get this.
And like, what was your first experience too?
And that, yeah.
Well, I actually like. I guess you could say like a pre-experience, like maybe like demoing it, or I actually hadn't had any experience whatsoever. I was just kind of like, I'd watched a couple of YouTube videos of just, various different gamers, stuff like that, who had used it, and I always had found an interest in it. And this year is actually, of course, whenever I first started getting into it, and you got the tax return, and you're, will you save it, or will you do what most everybody else does and just blow it all on some random crap?
No,
yeah, exactly. Stimulate the economy. Exactly.
Sometimes it's a noble of you. Yeah, right.
And so I was, the Nintendo Switch, I think, was getting ready to come out at the time, and I was debating on, whether or not I wanted to get that or get into VR. And I had watched a couple of videos and eventually, convinced myself to just buy a Vive. Finally got it hooked up, and I can't I tell you, dude, how crazy the first time you put the headset on, and Steam VR just runs the Steam VR tutorial, which is where like one of the cores is talking to you or whatever. And by the time it basically like, now go pick up your controllers or whatever, and then I see the 3D model of the Vive controllers, sitting on my bed. And I'm like, oh hey, that's kind of neat. And so I go over and, I pick them up, and the minute you pick them up, they follow your hands. And I was like, holy shit. And I literally was just like flailing the thing around. Because I'm like, this can't be like, this is like 10 times better than a Wii.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, sure.
The
nunchuck.
So you'd bought the Vive sight unseen? You hadn't tried VR before?
No, I've always been the kind of guy, the kid in the family that's been, the head first to get into the new stuff. So I was like, this looks awesome. I just want to do it.
Wow. That's amazing. So yeah, from videos, you were hearing the hype, you were seeing the hype. You could tell like this is obviously going to be mind blowing. But you weren't quite prepared, right? It was like better than you could imagine.
No. Oh, totally, completely.
Yeah.
A lot of people I hear talk to basically saying, oh, it's just a gimmick, yada yada yada. And it's really something that you until you experience it, it's crazy. We're so close to like just being able to plug ourselves into it, and we're here.
All of us probably would too. Yeah. There was somebody in the hub that was like, I don't need VR. Like I can tell how it is, based on the videos I'm seeing and stuff. And he just was somehow convincing himself that he didn't need it. I could maybe couldn't afford it or something. So you gotta. Maybe tell yourself some story or something so you don't feel like I want this so bad. But yeah, I was trying to say no. you can't know until you take the blue pill, the red pill. I forget which one's the right pill in these cases, but you got to go down the rabbit hole to get it. What about you, Goblox?
My story is very similar to Goose's. Like, I had never tried it also. Like, I had some friends that were like into like, they got like the DK1 like way back in the day, but something about it, just the fact that like you're strapped sitting at like a desktop, like I don't know, it just, and there wasn't much software for it, so I was like, wow, it's a really cool concept. I love the idea, like I'm all for it, like let's see where this goes. But that was like a pretty long time ago. And then finally when the final like Rift came out, and there started to be like these videos of people going like, oh wow, like this, that, oh, this is amazing, this is really cool. But for some reason, it wasn't until the Vive came out and I started seeing the reaction videos from that. Something about it just seemed like such a more like complete, like impressive system. Like the reaction from people just seemed to be so much more like, oh my God, like I can't believe it. And I'm a big believer in like, if you're going to try something like new for the first time, just try to take the easiest path to entry, and that just the Vive seemed like the easiest path to entry. It's just sort of the lighthouses, everything just like sets up and it goes, and it's rock solid tracking and all this stuff. Even though I'm using a Rift right now, but when I first, but I saw those videos and everything, and I had never tried it, and then I was like, okay, screw it, I gotta do. I knew that if I got it, it was going to consume a lot of my time. I just had this feeling that, okay, that was like the big decision for me. I was like, do I want to have this huge thing like completely like take up a big part of my life? Because I just knew it. Yeah. But I never knew what it was going to be like. I had always thought it was just going to be like you move your head around and it's looking like you're looking at a computer screen, and it's like moving your mouse around, and oh, isn't that cool? But it's like, then I finally got it. I set it up, and I had the same exact experience that Goose did. I put it on, and it didn't feel like I was like strapping a computer screen to my face. It felt like I was putting on goggles that saw into like another world. And it was like instant. And I remember I was talking to my friend about it, and he was like, oh yeah, he's like, I tried VR, all that stuff, and yeah, after like 3 or 4 hours, like you end up feeling like you're really there, you're not in the real world anymore. And I'm like, dude, like within the 3 or 4 seconds, I felt like I was gone. And then you see, like the core come up to you, and like one of the things that was the coolest thing, I think, was when I looked down at the controller, and you probably remember this, when you press the button and like the thing will flip over and it does like that sound, and I was like, oh God, like this is really cool. Like just now that you can play with reality like that and make it seem so realistic, the way it like rumbles when you do it, like that just like sort of blew me away. And I was like, oh, and that was my first real experience, was that. So.
Love it. I love hearing how people get into VR. It's just so awesome. All of us have those stories. I want to hear everybody's. Not all right now, but yes.
So you guys are talking about like just getting into the Vive.
For those that don't have VR, you're starting. Sorry. This is important for you to be here. This is actually a good thing.
Advertisements.
You will now be here sooner. Yes.
So both of you talked about like when you first, start up the Vive. But what was the first like game or application that you played?
So it had to be the lab, right? Oh,
Super Hot.
Wow.
Damn, Super Hot, boy. Super Hot.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
That's a pretty neat one to play first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And what was yours?
The lab. The lab was the first. I think that's obvious. I sort of went through like all the free games.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I just like was like the free game destroyer. I was just like, yeah, download all this stuff. And then I think like I eventually was like, okay, now I need to like buy some games. And I forget which one the first one was, but I really got into the game Onward. Like I thought that was a good balance of competitiveness and also teamwork, like having to coordinate with your team members. Like I thought that was really cool. It was almost like a social kind of first-person shooter. So I was really into that. So. Sort of made sense for me to jump over to VRChat because it was like that, but without guns.
I never had the time to get into that. I always wanted to, and then my Vive controller broke enough to where it was like, oh, forget about it. That would just be pain over there with the broken deep touchpad on that thing. Yeah. My first experience was Tuscany. I'll take that. Static environment, 30 frames a second, DK1. No positional tracking, blown away, blown out of the wall. I can't believe it. It's unbelievable.
So even without the positional,
just head tracking. Yeah, just head tracking.
First?
That doesn't count, man. That did not make me want to go get this VR. That just made me want to get out of that and go do something fun that day. I don't have any of that love for that. I want to have that, but I assume it was done wrong and I didn't fit right. I don't know. Who knows? It just didn't
for the
work
time
for
it was
me.
made, it was okay.
Yeah. But nope, not there yet. This was there. You could move your head. It's amazing. Well, you can move your head down, but it's still not the same. It just felt like I'm moving my head around. We've been around this block for a while. So you guys have avatars. Why did you pick this as your avatar?
Because I find her very attractive. Basically, I mean that's what it comes
I find
down
you
to.
very attractive too. Wink.
Thanks, buddy.
I'm always looking at your back. Nah, sorry.
I was like, and the funny thing is, I've never actually played Overwatch. I've just always been a fan of like the short. Yeah, not once have I ever played it because I'm horrible at the fast-paced first-person shooters. But yeah, I was like a big fan of it, and then like I managed to get my hands on like one of the models, and I downloaded it and I saved it, and I said I don't know what I'm going to use this for because this was before I ever had like VR. So I don't know what I'm going to use this for, but I should just grab it right now. And I grabbed it, and then like when I found VRChat, and I was like, oh, maybe I can bring it. Oh, it's an FBX. Maybe I can bring it. And like first time I brought it in, I was like, holy crap! I just brought it in. It was just amazing. There it is. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty serendipitous. That's cool. I like that. What about you, Doublegoose?
Well, for those of you who know me, like whenever I first started, or for just recently, I just recently switched on over to this one. My previous avatar was just the big bulky robot.
Show us that one too, because that's kind of iconic for you.
Sure, this is basically the Doublegoose avatar here. There he is.
Yeah. It's so funny. Yeah, there's a sense of recognition. I think of, you dancing. I can see certain things when I see you in that avatar.
Yeah, cool. That one was that avatar is previously from a Gundam series that ironically that character's not really all that popular. He's basically the guy that dies in droves. But and I thought ironically that would be kind of funny.
Like the red shirt of Gundam? Like the red shirt of Gundam?
Yeah. In the series it's from, it's like a computer animated AI that's specifically made for, it's a training dummy basically. It's made for the big guys shooting them in droves and learning. And ironically, I actually hated it the first time I uploaded into VRChat. There was so much weight painting issues and stuff like that. I'd spent like hours upon hours figuring out how to get the thing in, and but like so many people just associated with me with it, and I just kind of got attached to it. But the reason I've switched over to this one recently is just like a lot of people come up to you and they're like, hey man, that's really cool. Did you make that yourself? And like I've always felt like this, I'll be honest with you, I didn't. I modified it. I've done that, but the original design is not mine. It's not really mine. And this one recently, I basically made myself. It's a Frankenstein of various different assets that I had found and put together and rigged and everything myself. But this one feels more mine because it's not just something that it's not from anything. It's my own creation. It's my own idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I've really gotten. I told myself I wouldn't. I told myself I just wanted to make something that was mine. And then the first time I imported it and basically just looked at myself in the mirror, I was just like, that's me now. I'm like, a lot of people come up to me and they're like, that's not Goose, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I just got attached to it.
I'm attached to you. We went around, took a whole bunch of photos with you in this avatar, and so now that's starting to transfer. And there's people that know me as Tron. That's who I was doing this show. Most of my shows, I think, were in the Tron suits. And so I don't even think about it anymore, but certain people like that's me. Or certain people think I was an Asian guy from an old social VR platform.
That's right.
Because there was only like 7 humanoids, and so I was like, I'll be the Asian guy. And I look nothing like I look like Rob Zombie or something. And so they meet me in real life, and it's just like, what? I thought, wait, and they don't get it. And so this is what I basically kind of look like. And so if you meet me in real life, there should be a transfer of the memory should transfer, the recognition should sort of transfer, and that was sort of why I wanted to go this route. And then going forward, everything should have this sort of my face on it. And learned that through meeting people in real life that I met in VR, and just like became really interesting. So, but because you get attached to these avatars, they become you. People recognize you as that. It's a whole interesting like study on identity. It's been really fascinating, and everybody's playing with it right now. Identity. Who are we? So I want to know then how you found VRChat, and I want to know a couple memorable things that you can think of from VRChat that has happened. And Goblox.
So the way I found it was, as I said before, I had exhausted all the free games, and VRChat I don't think was in Steam yet. So then I started going through like paid games, and then I was playing Onward like a lot, and then I eventually was like, okay, I got to take a break. Let me try. There's got to be something else I can play. Maybe I was having like a really bad night and I rage quit or something. I'm like, I need to go somewhere else. And so I was like searching through the store, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to go back and I'm going to find any free game I haven't played and just download it. Why not? It's free. And like, I think one of the first ones I found was VRChat. It was right there. And I was like, oh, what's this? Chat. Okay, let's go check it out. And I went in there and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like you can, you see the little avatars there when you first go in, and you can like, they're just like right there and they look all cute, and you like can pick the one you want and you pick it and you go in. And then my first experience in here, which was super memorable for me, like I know like some people like don't really like the hub. Like I've heard at least some people say like, oh, it was thrown together really quickly and all this stuff. But for me, I have like a lot of fond memories with it. And it was the first place I ever teleported into, obviously, after the tutorial. And I just remember the sort of the feel of it, that sort of that orangey look to it, how it's all like lit by the flames.
Fire?
And it's, yeah, exactly. And it's like, and it just has this other feeling like you're like, okay, I'm definitely not where I was before. Like you just feel like you're in a completely different world. And so that was like super memorable to me. So I always have like a fondness kind of for the hub for that reason. But as far as like other memorable moments in here, I don't know. I mean, the improv has been hugely memorable for me. A lot of moments with that. I think like honestly, like seeing a lot of the firsts in here, like the first, like, were you gonna say something? I didn't want to.
I'll ask mine right after this.
Okay. Like I think a lot of the first I saw in here, like the first like gallery, like that GM3 did, like that was just awesome. I'm loving this idea that like people are coming in and like that sometimes have no experience with 3D modeling whatsoever, and they just come in and they're able to like do these things and learn it and like create a whole world, and suddenly they're standing inside of it. And all around it's been really just amazing seeing all these different things happen.
Yeah, so before we go to you, Doublegoose, I want to add then to the then how did improv and comedy night and doing that kind of stuff start? What was that? There should have been a kind of a spark or like an aha, or you were with some folks and decided, oh yeah, this could work. What was that about? How'd that go?
Yeah, so it was God, I think it was like 4 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, when actually Ghoster wanted to start to do like his own like play in VR. And so I was like, that sounds interesting. As I said, like I'm really big on like the first time stuff. So when I heard that, I was like, I want to do that. And so I was like on the writing team of that. And we were going through all these different ideas for like writing, and we had sort of hit this spot where we were like, we didn't know which direction to go. And so we were like, well, why don't we like try to start writing something, and then we'll do this. We'll try doing improv. I forget who suggested it at the time. But it was this idea of, why don't we do an improv show? And at the time, I had a real world friend in Meatspace that was actually doing improv classes, and he was telling me about it. It was really weird how this stuff sort of all lines up with each other.
Yeah.
And he was like telling me, we went to lunch, he was telling me about like how the games are played and all this stuff. And I was like, that sounds like something I'd really like to try doing, because I always wanted to try doing something like that. And like, so my initial sort of ulterior motive was I just wanted to sort of be in an improv class and like do improv, not like run it or anything. But after the first class, I think like Ghoster had to go out of town. We couldn't find anyone to fill in or something, so I filled in for the class. And like after that, it just sort of took off, and sort of I noticed that all these people were coming and they were having a good time, and people were laughing, and it just seemed, I just noticed that this is something that's going to be like big. Like this is something that should definitely be like pushed and fostered and nurtured and stuff. And so that's just what I've been kind of doing, is just trying to push it in a direction, whatever direction it wants to go in.
Gunter, a quick second, please.
Absolutely, Catapult. What you got?
Yeah, out of respect, Goose and Goblox, I gotta go. I gotta go pick up my wife at work. So I really would have liked to have stayed to the end. Sorry.
No worries, brother.
That's okay. You'll be able to check it out on YouTube.
Take care, guys.
Have a good night.
See you, Catapult. Yeah. So, well, I love events and I love entertainment and VR and sort of how this spawned. And I've seen things like comedy. We had the LMAVO, Laughing My Virtual Ass Off comedy show happen like 3 times or so. But it's hard to find talent and people that could be funny for when there was nobody in VR, nobody watching VR and all that stuff. And we
can't get the facial recognition back to like
people that
the audience.
don't do VR, they're like, they just think we're all not laughing and think we're all just sad looking. Like if you look around, nobody's really smiling. I don't see it that way, but
some people don't even have mouths.
don't see the smiling.
Some
They
don't have
have like emotes.
That can also work for comedy because sometimes some of the funniest things are when people are being super serious and doing ridiculous stuff. So it's like it sort of plays into it.
There's custom override. People can control their face now.
Well, it's getting better now. Yeah, a year and a half ago, it was definitely a lot more difficult, of course. And so I'm loving seeing this. There was a kid, Artemis, that was teaching us improv. He's a 16-year-old kid, and I was the same thing. I was like just digging, like, yeah, teach me. Oh, yes and all that stuff, and just really digging it. But somebody had to give it the love it needed, and it was, those things have come and gone, and I've known like probably not going to continue to work out because you just tell the person behind it's probably going to get, it takes to do something weekly like that. It takes a lot of work, right? It probably takes a bit of time.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
I love
it's a lot of
knowing that you love doing this and seeing it. I mean, it's just I love hearing about everybody's first VR stories, and I love seeing events take off and people doing them weekly and taking them serious, and then so many people and enjoying that. I mean, how cool is that? You just get to see all these people laughing and having a good time, and it's fucking hilarious. You're fucking hilarious, Doublegoose. It's great. I love,
Thank you.
And you get to get feedback from people. It's such a cool fucking thing.
It is, and it's so easy to like. In here, you're just like, oh, let's build a theater. Bloop. Don't have to pay for any rent or real estate or anything like that. It's like you can just do whatever you want. It's
basically
like
free.
We're having all these ideas of being able to do things like on the fly, switch the stage into like different modes for different games. It's like you can't do it once you start like thinking outside of the bounds of reality. You can start like putting that stuff into the events and stuff here. You can completely like we're in VR. It's limitless possibilities. So it's all hugely exciting from so many different perspectives.
I love it. Do you have any, I guess it seems like you know a lot about theater, or it seemed like you may have experience with this because of how you run it, how I got to see the behind the scenes kind of auditions recently. I think how you're doing that. It's getting people warmed up, trying out these new games, getting people, ahead of time, not doing like this show where we just all plop here and I'm like, all right, what are we gonna do? And we just start doing the show. You actually think about stuff. No, I think about this stuff too, but it was really cool to see that everybody committed and going through warming up, getting their voices going, getting their thoughts, getting people's attention and stuff, so that it starts flowing, so it's not just a big shit show. Because something like hilarious comedy like that can easily turn into, I'm sure, a big mess. So props on that. Do you have any experience it, or is it basically just because this guy that you met that was studying improv, you were just able to take a lot of that and basically just be in a good position to, I don't know, give this place a lot of knowledge on improv and make it seem pretty pretty legit?
So my friend that was into it, he was taking the classes, but he wasn't really didn't have a lot of experience. I was just fascinated by his experience, doing it. And most of I guess what I'm applying now, I don't know, I had some theater experience when I was a kid, doing plays and stuff, but right now I'm just sort of just doing a lot of Googling and stuff, people do warm-up games. Okay, well then that's something that we should do. Well, then I'll come up with a schedule and I'll say, okay, we're going to do warm-up games from this time to this time. Let's try out this game and all that stuff. I'm a lot into doing like coding and stuff, and like, you know, I don't know, like coding is sort of an iterative process where you get together, like at a company, you write some software, everybody gets together and they spitball it like in a room. You get together and people will shoot down ideas and throw different ideas out there and try them. And I'm very much like ready for that kind of environment, because I think it has to do a lot with playing music. Because like when you're jamming and you're trying to make music and stuff, you'll say, hey, let's try after 4 measures of this, let's try doing this. You try doing this, you try doing it, and you try it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But in the end, even if the stuff that you're doing like doesn't work, it ends up you're still making the whole much better. So I'm always like willing to like throw out ideas that were bad, like even if they're mine or something, just because I want to see like the best product, you know, come out of it. So I think, you know, sort of life experiences all come together to help put that show together.
Right on, excellent. Well, it shows.
Antorth, you mind having a seat on the 2nd or 4th row, please? Thank you.
That's right. People are trying to vote kick you out of here, so definitely want to have a seat. All right. Everybody, people do offer up vote kicks, and I'm reason I'm bringing this up. It is important to look at these alerts that come up and see if somebody's vote kicking and try to identify who that might be. You may not be a problem, but just like to share that it's important to participate in that.
Know about the show going on and stuff.
Yeah, and this goes more so for other events in other rooms. I want people to know about that, because it's just kind of a culture thing that we all need to be helping each other make this place what we want. Anyways,
the camera's right over here.
It doesn't really work, does it? Does it really matter? Yeah, it's broke. Oh, you didn't hear. Everything's broke. Except our souls and our spirits. Doublegoose. Okay, so what was the questions? It was, how'd you find VRChat? What are some memorable things about VRChat? And then I want to get into the whole squats with.
Okay. Well, VRChat, I guess kind of getting started was probably a similar experience with Goblox. I had played Pavlov and really enjoyed Pavlov a whole lot. And but the way I didn't play Pavlov like everybody else played Pavlov. I basically just threw the guns away, pulled my knife out, and just ran up to people and say, "Hey, boy, you want some of this? Come here!" And and you know, a lot of people just laughed and thought that was hilarious. And I had made a couple of Steve friends from just being stupid in Pavlov
nice.
I've run around with the dual sniper rifles, and you fire once and those things fly out of your hands. But I'd walk up. I actually got several kills doing that. But eventually, after doing that, I'm like, okay, this is a ton of fun, but I'd like to do this just more of a social aspect and things like that. I was actually starting to get kind of bored of VR. Like I couldn't find any games that I was solely interested in, and I'm a big social gamer. So like whenever it comes to gaming, like I want to experience it with somebody.
Yeah.
And I looked up, what's a social VR? I'm sure that's a thing. Second Life's a thing.
Where's the cool kids at?
So I looked it up and I saw. I had found, AltSpace was one of the available options there. And I saw the trailer, wasn't really enthralled, mainly just because I wasn't big into the armless avatars. It didn't really look like, there was a lot of, like, people interaction. It just me. And VRChat was also one of the options I looked at. And I was just like, okay, the trailer looked pretty neat. The hands actually move with the arms, looks pretty crazy. Downloaded it, and that's how I pretty much got here. And I can't tell you, just like I said, when running the tutorial, I was one of the guys, looking in the mirror, doing all this. You see this all the time for new people that come into VRChat. They're always like, wow. I'm like, it's so crazy looking in the mirror the first time and just being like, whoa, the IK system in this game is insane. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
The mirror is memorable. So now I see what you meant, K-Dog. I didn't realize that this was K-Dog at first, and it is very startling to see K-Dog and
K-Dog is a knight.
Paladin knight armor staring us down, filming. I don't know. It's okay, Kennedy. I don't know if you can grab the camera again and turn camera mode-ish for, cool. That helps everybody. not feel like you're like they might want to vote kick you. They might actually know who you are and that kind of thing. So, K-Dog, never vote kick K-Dog. That won't work. So okay, so you're boom, you're in, you're sold, hands move, you can slap people, it's super cool. You're having fun. What are some fun things you're doing, and then what leads up to like squats with? How do you come up with that? It was Darren, right? Were you friends with Darren? What's the story?
Yeah, so Darren was one of the first couple of people that I had met in VRChat, and he was actually introducing a friend to VRChat.
Do not accept the kick, Kenny. There's an alert now, so we can learn how to use the kick system now, and that's when you're gonna deny. You're gonna say no to, and if you guys fuck me on that, I'm gonna be really pissed off. Okay, sorry, Doublegoose.
All right, and no, it's okay. Where was I? Oh yeah, he was one of the first people. He was introducing a friend to VRChat at the time, and we had started. We were doing all sorts of just stupid stuff, and just after hitting it off for a while, eventually, there was it's on my YouTube channel actually. Doublegoose. One of the more earlier videos I uploaded was basically VRChat workout or gym something like that. I don't remember the exact name, but like we were joking around about working out in VR, and like I was doing all kinds of like Arnold Schwarzenegger impressions and stuff like that. And like after it was all said and done, we were basically just doing stupid stuff. I was like, joking aside, like real talk, I've always been like, I don't like going to a gym because I see all these jocks or whatever with, these awesome bodies, and nothing wrong with them. That's absolutely fine. They're working their body. That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's hard to keep your hands off of them. I understand, but you just.
But for me, like, I always feel incredibly intimidated when I see that, and I'm just like this skinny nerd dude, and so I was like, real talk, I would love to have like a workout sort of a session in virtual reality. Like we have hands, we have heads, we have the assets. We could totally do it. And he's like, yeah. And but it sort of went on the wayside until one day Darren actually decided to take the initiative and was running around to people and basically just being like, hey, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, squats with Darren, be there. And he was going around, and he kind of intended it to be more of a joke. But like we actually had people coming in and stuff like that. And we had both discussed like if it was going to be working out in VR, it's probably going to better be squats because it's really hard to do squats incorrectly. Like you can, but it's a little more difficult, and then like it's not going to hurt people or something like that. And so that's kind of how that got started. He started, life got in the way for him, and there were a couple of times where like he couldn't show up, and I basically just took initiative. I'm like, well, hey, that we got to keep this going. We got to keep the fire burning. I don't want this to stop because then I'll stop working out in VR. And I actually from the squats, I'm actually, I find out I'm working out in real life. I do this thing where I do like 40, 50 push-ups every night before bed. It's OCD for me now. I can't not do that. Yeah, I can't not do that. I have to before sleeping. And a couple of, I do a couple of squats on the side now anyways, just to keep, the legs
squats
going.
On the side.
But yeah, squats on the side, keep the legs going.
That's awesome.
But yeah, and there were a couple of weeks where I couldn't show up, so Ghoster took initiative, and he took care of it for me. So now it's basically, it's squats with Goose and Ghoster now. He's the co-host or whatever. It's awesome. Yeah, there's Ghoster over there in the audience. Everybody showing him a little bit of love.
That's what's been great about
it's been awesome.
These events is actually, it is hard to do events every single week, and so the support that I've seen gravitate and Ghoster, it's just all you guys continuing to keep the fire burning because you saw something great in it, and it's part of VRChat's entertainment, fun, why people come, why people stick around. Events that happen weekly are really important, and it's just very important for people to stick around VRChat, I think. Yeah. So,
do you guys have any future plans for your shows?
Yeah.
I know I offered to Doublegoose maybe doing a midweek, like more full body exercise kind of thing, just a short, 30-minute thing. But I think me and him will have to talk to Pill about that a little bit more. Find a time, because I mean these weeks are getting fuller and fuller of more and more events that are happening, and soon we're going to start running into times when events are going to be happening. 2 events at the same time. So
like TV, you got to choose what you want, which channel you got to go to.
I try to help people for the community's sake, stagger these things so people can go to everything. Of course, that's not going to be possible, and it's certainly going to start to become the case where just the person putting on the event, it kind of has to work for them, else it's not going to work. So it always has to be that. And then there is certain kind of prime spots, I think, that work well for West Coast of the United States up to the Europeans that work, even though for the Europeans it really almost doesn't work, but it's kind of like the best. It's just how it is. That's just the reality of life. And like it is for me, it's 6 o'clock in the morning at times when it's only 3 o'clock for Goblox, and I really wish it was only 3 o'clock for me, but then you have people in Europe, it's like noon.
Maybe some of the people in Europe will start putting on their own shows.
That's what has to happen. That's absolutely we're just getting to the point now, where things are starting to overlap, and then there'll be just another year from now, there'll be all kinds of events happening at the same time, lots more happening in European time. Then they're going to need to see more of the Asian, Australian markets. We'll probably start seeing those become more alive too. But I find those probably be following,
Which might be kind of cool. I mean, to be able to hop into sort of like another culture's, like the way that they do shows and stuff might be kind of a cool, like you're up late at night. Whoa, what's this show going on? Let's go hop in here. I mean, that might be like add some real dynamicness to it. That'd be pretty neat.
Be really cool. You might fall in love with somebody else's time zone and culture and become part of that just because of the culture that you find. Yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll be really interesting. What else we got? So you guys both went to the Ohio meetup, is that right? No, it wasn't you. It's just you're not out there yet. You did, and some other folks. How was that? You guys tell us about the meeting up. Oh, Ghoster was there, I think, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Sim was there too.
That was. That's probably one of the coolest / craziest things I think I've ever decided to do. I live in like I said, I live in Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, but Missouri is basically Central America. We're right in the heart. So like everybody else is either way over here, way over here, way over there. Northwest, east, south. And so it's. I pretty much I drove the 13 hours. I decided I wanted to drive because I had just got a new car. Wanted to actually break it in, and
road trip.
It was pretty crazy, and like I went to go pick up Cube Paradox along the way, and about 5 hours in, picked him up, and then we drove the rest of the 8 hours there, and
cool.
It's pretty funny though, because like I told a couple of my family members that I was planning on doing this, and they were totally like, yeah, that sounds awesome. You want to meet your VR friends? That sounds great. And then like 5 hours in the drive, I get a text message from my mom, and she basically says, where are you going? What's the address of the people you're getting ready to stay at? I need to know this, and blah blah blah. I'm because if something were to happen. And,
sure.
And I'm like, yeah. And I messaged her back. I'm real short text because I'm driving. I said, hold on, driving, but I'll give you the info. And then I get this book, just this text from my mom and my sister at the same time. My phone's going off like crazy. So, and like Cubed is right there in the passenger seat, and he just sees with the phone. And I'm like, And I'm like, hang on, my mom, and so I pull over, and send out the address information and stuff like that to everybody, and so she could know that. But yeah, by the time we finally arrived to Ohio, how there's like this disconnect, I guess, whenever you talk with someone over text maybe for a while, or like you played the same MMORPG or something like that for a while, and then go to meet them, or something similar to that, or like you hang out with a friend at work or a coworker, and then you actually go to hang out at their place, and there's like this getting to know them kind of a thing. It didn't.
Yeah.
There was nothing. There was nothing like that. It felt like we've known each other forever. Like I drove in to their driveway, and Sima, Kane's wife, he's been around here for a little bit. She actually was just pulling in from work. She ran out of her car. We gave each other a hug. We just like we do pretty much all the time in VRChat, and that was pretty awesome. I gave Kane a hug, and like for me, like I don't know about them, but yeah, for me, I didn't feel like there was any kind of like disconnect at all. I mean, it was awesome getting to meet them and getting to meet a lot of people. We had like 10 or 12 people. 11, okay. 11 people from like Squid came down from Canada. It was pretty awesome, yeah.
Can't forget about Koro.
Yeah,
I don't want to just read them all off, but like
Gilster was there. We had a lot of people there. It was awesome.
You streamed it, and it was
we
inspiring.
played Real Hot Potato.
Yeah.
And they played Real Hot. Yeah. And it's inspired now another real world meetup, the Orlando VR meetup, and that's probably where I'm getting confused because we're gonna get to meet each other at that meetup.
Yep.
Yes. There's a whole bunch, 20 maybe more people. I don't know. I'm sure each one of these real life meetups are kind of top each other, right? Like we got more than you. No, we got more. We were 15 people in one bedroom. We how much we like each other. I don't know.
That's around Oculus Connect time, right?
The week before Oculus Connect, I will be in Orlando with, there's 9 of us staying at a really awesome house that we got on an Airbnb type place. And it is going to be there's 9 or 10. Is there 10 now? There was 10, and then it's down to 9. Meklai was yesterday. Oh, somebody else joined. I'm going to like coordinate a lot of this shit too, and I should know it all. But I know stuff. These spreadsheets. I'm this kind of guy that I put it. I leave it there, and then I come back to it and look at. I don't know. I forgot. Anyways, and there's going to be like 10 other people in the area. They'll be swinging by. We'll be meeting up at Disney, at Universal, all that like great stuff. For me, it's fantastic because it's 2 hours from where I live. Hallelujah for me. That makes things great. And then I get to kind of help with logistics and stuff and shuttling people. That's going to be awesome. Get to help people connect, which is what I've like to do in VR, but I could do it in real life. And so that's going to be pretty awesome. The week before Connect, a bunch of us that are there are going to be going to Connect, like Cube Paradox and Mr. Q and you and myself. I don't know, probably somebody else I'm forgetting. Meklai. And that's going to be really, really cool. So more meetups. People, we're going to see how each other really look and be like, whoa, I didn't think you look like an Asian guy or something. It's going to be really fun.
Or your beard is longer in real life.
It is longer. And I smell bad too, so you don't get that in VR. Everybody's like, oh shit, he smells bad? Oh,
you just get all the good shit.
Territory.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't notice any followers.
It's just like, yeah, I smell bad too. What are you talking about? That's no big deal. Yeah, anyways, I'll be alright. That
New instance of VR, being able to smell the person to your right.
What else we got on here, Bob? Let's keep asking you guys some questions.
What future VR gear would you like to see?
What can be added to this? Can it get better than this? I mean, well, you got trackers now. You don't have them on, I don't think, but that's something that's just been added.
Yeah, it's cool.
Trackers.
Eye tracking, like
better resolution headsets. That would be awesome to like get rid of the screen door effect, like that. I'm just all about wanting. Yeah, like the immersion factor. I just want to be higher. I really want, like right now they're talking about, there's all this experimentation of using the Kinect for full body tracking. And to me, even though I have the pucks and stuff, that really piques my interest because the idea of not having to charge up pucks and then have to strap them on every time, just say, oh, now I want to go full body, press a button and then the Kinect, turn on or whatever, and your full body tracking, like that would be amazing. That would be something, truly awesome.
Is there downfalls to that? Like, is there problems with the Kinect tracking though? That's not going to be as good as the pucks, or?
Yes. It's basically like coming from one camera, right? So imagine it's like your Oculus operating just off one camera. That's like I think like easy way to sort of look at it. Yeah, exactly. But the real thing will be is if they can get it so you can set up like multiple connects, like from different angles, and then they can sort of fill in the data. Like that will be
like one from the ceiling pointing down.
Yep, exactly. Try to get all the angles. That'd be sweet.
What about you, Doublegoose? Any kind of hardware? Do you want to smell people in VR? Maybe that.
No. I've talked to people about that. I remember that we had this. I don't remember who it was with, but I had this conversation with someone who was like, "Man, the ability to smell." I think we were like in this like one of the grass field that Flashfire made or whatever. And they're like, "Man, could you imagine being able to like smell the grass, stuff like that?" I'm like, no, I don't want to smell in VR for a while because I know there's gonna be that one guy who runs in and somehow makes their avatar like just throw this odor out, or they just fart or something like that, poo stain smell, and then they're just throwing it in your face. I don't want to experience any.
That'd be the only reason to have it.
South Park, anyone?
Smelled it, dealt it.
Yeah, but. Probably, for one, I'd love to have better resolution screens right now. That would be amazing. I also like to experience more haptic feedback. The haptic feedback. I like more haptic feedback. Like right now, the vibration on the controllers is actually very nice. Like I've never really cared much for vibration on like they had the old like the boost, what do they call them, the vibrator packs that you put on your N64 controllers or whatever back
the
in the
Rumble
day.
Pack. Yeah,
the Rumble Pack, thank you. The Rumble Pack, I never was like it's whatever, I'm just holding a controller. But like in VR, like that haptic feedback is actually pretty important. It actually feels like whenever you're drawing the bow in like a game or something like that. And so I'd like to have like more like, whenever you're giving somebody a hug, you could actually, get that feeling. I know your brain actually kind of creates that for you enough, but actually having something physical there, that would be pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
Give it like another decade.
In desktop mode.
Sorry, desktop mode? You said desktop mode. That immediately takes you out of the conversation. I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding. What did you say? No, go ahead. I'm just kidding.
That was about it.
The
only real complaint I have about desktop mode is it's really difficult to pick things up without like a reticle.
Yeah, we do that on purpose because we don't like desktop users. That's what that is about.
Oh, you don't
they're second-class VR citizens. Sorry. It's just a fact of VR is hard.
It is called
these things are important to us.
VRChat.
These things are important, and they've come a long way actually to have sort of similar parity. So, and it is VRChat. If it was up to me, there'd be no Never mind. I'm just kidding. Cleanse
I wouldn't be able to record.
Shots fired.
I know. I would actually come in and I moderate and all this shit. I would not be happy if I had to do it all. It'd be really difficult to moderate with just VR and head going up and down. All that would be terrible. Terrible. So, I would like to prompt the audience that if they would like to ask these two gentlemen any questions, to think about that. I think we're basically going to be winding the show down, but certainly want all you guys to be able to ask any kind of questions, anything you could imagine, put them on the spot. That's what they're here for. But I'll double check with Bob. Yeah, sure. I mean, why not? If they're people, I'm people. You can ask people things. Hold on one second though. Unless Bob, you got anything? Any last things on
man. I think we pretty much went through most of the questions, so we're good.
Yeah. So Tom, are you saying you got a question then?
I do.
All right.
Oh,
God. Let's hear it.
This is the same question that I asked my Master Chief the other day. Provided that you get to keep it, what is the largest item that you would shove up your ass?
Look at that. That's the kind of question I'm talking about.
That's a weird detail to add in.
Well, I'm adding that to the stock list of questions for the future. Thanks for that one.
You're welcome. Yeah.
You guys gonna answer? Bob have to answer it too. We'll answer with you, right?
What's like the most expensive like coin? This is small. Maybe the.
There you go. Think it's smart.
Probably an old German doubloon or something like that.
Okay, well then I'll gladly shove that.
I mean, it'd be worth like a few $100,000. So there you go. Just have a few of those up your ass. You're good to go.
Wait, so the question is what? Wait, the question again, Tom?
Alright, so provided that you get to keep it, what is the largest item that you would shove up your ass? And you're allowed to prep, by the way, so if you want to start out with something smaller and work your way up to it, you can go ahead and do that. But it's one item.
I'm going to say you.
Oh! Alright.
Silence you
There's no
forever.
smell-o-vision. How's that be much worse for you, buddy?
Haptic feedback.
Damn, Tom. Come on,
We
strong.
don't have to answer the question because they already did. That's great. Next question.
I got one for Goose.
What's up?
Go for it.
When are you gonna take me on a trip to Quince?
What does that mean?
Next time we all play, it's Elite Dangerous. We got a VRChat plug. We got a VRChat gaming Discord run by the community. If you want in, ask me or Goblox. We were both admins in it. Goblox got it started. But anyways, this weekend, remind me, and we'll do some really dangerous stuff.
I need to get in on that. I'm gonna get on Discord because I haven't played that game in forever.
No, but a serious question. The Vive or the Oculus?
Is that me or?
That's for anybody.
Doublegoose.
Okay. I really just believe both are really great. Like I've had a little bit of experience with the Oculus. I actually bought one during the sale, and because the Vive controllers are shit. Simply for the issue with the trackpad breaking constantly. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when with the Vive controller. But anyways, I bought an Oculus or a Rift because I was curious if maybe that would be a bit better, and I actually demoed it whenever I was at Kane's house, and I was enthralled. The controllers are amazing, so I went and bought one and had so much freaking trouble hooking the stupid thing up to my computer. Legit, almost bricked my motherboard. I'm not gonna go into the details because it's a long story, but I ended up giving it to a friend of mine who was really interested in VR, and I really wanted to get him into it. But between the two, personally, I prefer the Vive just simply for the ease of setup and the little bit of third-party support that we do have right now. Hopefully, going to get more when more people come into it. But either one is really good. I mean, they're both really great. They're almost identical to each other. I mean, it's really just a matter of, do you want an easier setup or do you want a more difficult setup but cheaper? It's up to you. And the controllers for the Oculus are just still way better. Simply just because it's stupid.
Hey, Liger, welcome to the show. If you could mute, so I heard some feedback coming through. That'd be great.
Oh, I do apologize.
That's no problem, man. So, Vive or Rift?
So I'm using Rift right now. There's give and take to both of them. If you are planning on wanting, first of all, the Vive is way better tracking. It's way more solid, and yeah, the setup is way easier. You just plug it in, do the setup, and it just goes. And it's like everything's made to work together. With the Rift, it feels kind of like clunky, like it's trying to get the Rift to work with Steam VR. I don't know, it feels like it's not 100% made to go together for some reason. But when you do get it set up, it's good. There are some frame rate issues with the Rift right now in Steam VR, so that's a bit of a concern. If you're planning to do full body tracking, if you plan to want to use trackers, then the Vive trackers, then well, you've got to use the Vive. But if they can get Kinect working then like both ways, like full coverage with the Kinect, then I would say personally for me the Rift is the way to go because it's lighter and the controllers are better. So
I agree with a lot of that you said. I didn't have the setup issue that you had, but I have both.
It was kind of ridiculous.
The controller thing that going out kind of was the coffin, the nail in the coffin. 3 cameras, perfect tracking for me on the Rift, so haven't experienced any problem there. But
traveling the Rift is easier to deal with.
Yeah, they do have their pros and cons. $200 matters, you know. That's the big thing. If it's $200 cheaper. Cool. More questions before we.
I has another.
Wrap it up.
No,
Go for
God.
it.
All right. So this community, we like to experiment.
Something up someone's ass. I don't
It's
wanna
not.
Right,
so yeah, this community, you know, we like to create things. A lot of times it's amazing, but a lot of times it's disturbing and absolutely horrid. Out of all the things that all of you have seen here in VRChat, what is like this thing I would never want to encounter in real life?
Somebody asking somebody what they insert in their asshole.
Well, you get that in real life from me anyways, so.
Can't wait to meet you.
I would say probably anything Oracle makes.
I was going to say the same thing.
My Lord and Savior. That dynamic booty bone.
Yeah. Oh God, those nose hairs. Yeah, I don't know if I could think of one. Anything come to your mind? That kind of just overtakes
Oracle
mine.
was the first thing that came to mind, but there's actually an avatar in VRChat that I have a really hard time looking at. And I'm not going to say the person's name who owns this one because they don't use it all the time. For those of you who know them, you probably know what I'm talking about. But it's basically I think it's from the Dante's Inferno game, but they added dynamic bone to it. It's like a giant, like I don't know. It's got freaking. It's a giant blob things with tentacles coming out of it, and then it's a woman with like 12 breasts. And just the head is disgusting. The head is it's got these little hands, and I can't look at it. I have to put my hand over my face when it comes in the room, and they know it bothers me, so they just run up.
Doesn't work.
They know it bothers me, so they just run up to me and taunt me with it.
Whose wife?
That's my wife. That's my wife.
Your wife.
No, it is a wonderful.
Okay, it's not a 3D scan of your wife. Okay.
You don't know.
I don't.
I didn't know that about Goose. That's great. That's good to know.
All right, how about one more good one? Anybody got another good one?
All right, so I got one for both you guys.
All right, we'll do two. We'll do Lousy and then Ghoster.
We'll do two. All right.
Yeah.
Well, this is an easy one. So basically, how many 5-year-olds could you take in a fight? just ballpark. Just ballpark. Like you versus 5-year-olds. How many could you take down?
Are any weapons allowed?
Up to you, to maybe. I don't know. No, we'll do bare hand.
No,
Bare-handed.
yeah, bare hand.
5-year-olds.
Bare hands?
Because they don't have weapons. They're too young. So how many?
Let me think about that.
Ballpark.
You're telling me they're not all carrying butterfly
Like not
hands?
100. We can all agree like 100 is ridiculous.
They could be.
They might be 5 years old, but if they're 100, you're done. So I don't want to hear any
One good
100.
solid punch to the face and they're out.
They're all coming at the same time, right? They're not like, hey, here's one, here's another one. You're not throwing one at a time. This is a swarm of 5-year-olds.
Thinking about this.
I weigh this
About
much
8.
and I punch him this hard.
It's good. That's good. It's good to have goals.
How much can I say without being ethically immoral?
How light do I need to hit them before it's...
I don't
Yeah, they
like
probably won't be able
fighting
to climb
kids.
up on you.
I don't want to fight a kid. I mean, if they were some kind of savage or zombies,
Yes.
I was just gonna say that. I'd probably like if it was a fight or flight situation. I mean, like I'd probably like 10, 12 was the first number that came to mind. Probably 12 would be maybe exaggerating.
Nice. Okay.
things.
I like
So 8 to 12 is the range between you guys. Okay.
8 to 12. Yep. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. Yeah, the more you know.
The more you know.
I got this skateboard avatar
after
right here.
Yeah. Toaster, close it out with something good. What you got?
For you, Doublegoose and Goblox. Other than the event you run or runs, what is your favorite event of VRChat?
Except
the
Gunter's
most favorite.
Universe.
Excluding Gunter's Universe, yeah.
Like, if you had to choose one event that you could attend
That's
every
actually
single
kind of
time
weird,
without exceptions, what would it be?
That's.
I
wouldn't
really like
answer that question. I don't know.
I really like the Sunday meetup. I think that's awesome because I don't know, like the whole
Such a
thing about
staple.
VRChat is, yeah, and it's like the whole thing about VRChat is like you just like running through these worlds and exploring with different people, and you kind of feel like you're all explorers in a sense when you're all going to these worlds you never have been in. I don't know, it's kind of like a bonding thing in a way for me. So.
I really absolutely love the Improv show. That's a fun event to be a part of, and I've always been huge into acting and stuff like that. I mean, outside of events, I guess that I'm actually take a part into or whatever. Probably I really like Endgame. I really was big into like the community run stuff and everything like that, and that was a lot of fun. And there's been a lot of moments on Endgame where a lot of people have been really open, and it just kind of felt like this, there's big old like fellowship, everybody's hugging each other kind of event. It's really nice over there.
Can I just say this place looks like a giant Star Wars council meeting?
That's the point. Do it.
It kind of does, yeah.
Do it.
Well,
It's more like a futuristic show kind of thing.
Folks. This has been awesome. I love interviewing the community. I know a lot more about you guys. I feel connected more with you guys. I'm sure everybody does. Yeah, these are great. I'm gonna keep doing these. So, Ghoster. we need to learn where Ghoster lives. We're gonna have you on sometime soon, bud. All right.
Come visit.
I'll give you mine. Send me treats and gifts and everything. Yeah.
No. Well, Curry has already done that for me. He sent me a little box of 72 grape Jolly Ranchers because he hates the grape.
Oh yeah, that's right. He did do that.
Wait. How many?
72. 72.
Wow.
He had like 2 of those giant bags just full of grape Jolly Ranchers that you just like screw it, put in a box and send it to me.
Man, he must have plans for you.
Are you sure that wasn't like a marriage proposal?
Yeah.
If
that's true, then that
Hey,
marriage proposal is
little
in the freezer.
want some candy?
Be one
I
of
got some candy.
Please be
You do
one of
know
my
that
20
strangers have the best candy.
Strangers have the best candy. Okay, that's good. Moral of the story is shove shit in your ass, take candy from strangers, and Sunday is an awesome day to come out to VRChat and have fun.
Yay.
Sundays meetup, Sunday improv, great nights, and of course Tuesdays in Gunter's Universe, always interesting, different, fun, edifying
Don't forget the
sometimes.
prom night tomorrow.
Prom tomorrow, everyone.
Prom
Just when you thought there's another one of those going to be happening in your life, there is.
What's the prom
And it's
night?
tomorrow.
Man, I guess this
sometime.
is my chance to go to a prom.
Before we wrap up, Bobby, anything to plug?
Yeah, so there's plug Reality Virtually Hackathon coming up October 6th to 9th at the MIT Media Lab. If you'd like to participate, you can go to realityvirtuallyhack.com and you can click on the participate button to sign up. Last year we had over 400 entries. There were 70 teams, and I'm one of the judges. So if you would like to get involved in a hackathon, it's a great place to meet people, and there's tons and tons of smart people and big prizes.
Right on.
And then I do another podcast, LHVR Podcast, which has been on hiatus for a while, but we've got a couple episodes in the can, and I'll upload them as soon as I'm no longer homeless.
very long-running VR podcast, and as soon as Bob's not, when he's back in his house, he'll get us more content out there. There's 3 of those guys. They're all left-handed, and they're hilarious. Check it out. And for me, follow me at Gunter's Universe on Twitter. That's where I kind of put stuff out there. Also, when I go to Oculus Connect 4 next month, I'll be periscoping, and that's Periscope puts stuff on Twitter. They go, blink, Gunter's now live. Don't make fun of him on Periscope because you can chat live at the same time. As well as follow me on twitch.tv/Gunter444. That's my favorite number. And I've been streaming a lot more of the events happening around here too. So, get a part of that so you can stay connected, see cool stuff. And that is it. Thank you, Goblox. Thank you, Doublegoose, for being on the show. This is excellent. Loved it.
Plugs for these guys.
Yeah, what do you got? What do you got? Improv?
What? Where can people follow you?
Oh, yeah. Every Sunday, 6 p.m. Pacific, Improv. And if you are interested in possibly trying it out, every other week we do sign-up improvs where anybody can come and sign up and get on stage with us and have some fun. Check the events channel in Discord and also the VRChat calendar to know when we're exactly doing that.
Right on. And we forget to point people where to watch the old episodes of Improv.
Yes. Thank you very much. Go onto YouTube and search for EEL Team 6. That's EEL Team and the number 6. You can find all our videos there, all of our shows, all the ones that we felt were safe enough to put onto YouTube.
Well, unless you're trying to generate ad revenue, I don't think it matters at this point.
Exactly.
And Doublegoose. Are you at Secret Agent Doublegoose on Twitter?
I don't actually. I think I created a Twitter account way back when and then never used it. But I'm like, I of course Squats with Goose and Ghoster that goes on. I think PST it's like 12 a.m. But 7 p.m. Central, 8. You can check the event channel on the VRChat Discord, and I stream the event every time we do it, and you can go to my Doublegoose is my YouTube channel, so you can go there if you want to watch them, or just any other YouTube video that I just randomly decide to post on there.
EEL Team 6, Doublegoose, Gunter's Universe. Find us on YouTube and then on a podcast, Left-Handed V8, Left-Handed VR podcast. Good night, everybody.
LHVR.
Thank you, man. That was really cool.